citizens of Earth. This is Cobra Commander. The G.I. Joe has commissioned HasLab to develop a Classified Series 6-inch scale Snow C.A.T. That's combat all-terrain vehicle.
Hey, what is going on, everyone? Today, guys, we're going to talk about the 4th G.I. Joe Classified HasLab that was just released by Hasbro, the G.I. Joe Classified Snow C.A.T. Now, this is the 4th HasLab for the G.I. Joe Classified 12th scale, although overall 5th HasLab technically for G.I. Joe when you include the Sky Striker. In today's video, we're going to answer the very important question, I feel as though, how successful is this HasLab going to be, being on the fourth year for the Classified series. We're going to talk about the features it has, the tiers that it has, what I like about it, what I don't like about it. Overall, I'm going to bring in my HasLab HisTank behind me. I have a company called Gridiron Studios for their take on these, their Snow C.A.T. And I think overall this is going to help us figure out what we like, what we don't like, and once for all answer the question, is this going to be the most successful HasLab to date, or maybe least successful? Without further ado, guys, let's jump right into the video. Alright guys, I have my HisTank Classified scale as well. If you're not familiar, this is Gridiron Studios Arctic Hound with their tread package. I forget what they call it, but this is clearly Gridiron Studios' take on the Snow C.A.T. We have the yellow missile system on the front, kind of like it would in the back. We got the treads, we got the yellow missiles up front. Gridiron Studios calls this the Earl system. It's their enclosed missile system. It's a pretty cool little package right here, guys. We'll dive into that briefly, but I figured these two vehicles, as well as I have Gridiron Studios APC Stinger conversion, which I couldn't fit in this frame, but I will be bringing that back out so we can kind of talk about the Snow C.A.T's APC capabilities. I actually don't have a vintage Snow C.A.T. All I really have is this little guy right here. So I have this guy, which we'll kind of use as some reference from point to point. But guys, without further ado, let's actually dive right into this. So what kind of features will this HasLab Snow C.A.T. get, guys? So we already know it's going to have this little pull-out with an ice tray, some cooking areas for you to cook with. Obviously, in the scaled-down 12-scale world, relatively recently, you know, barbecue and cooking something for the action figures is something that's been becoming more the norm. Not really my thing, but I do appreciate that Hasbro is taking and acknowledged what direction a lot of where collecting is going, especially with toy photography. So I thought that was a cute, cool feature as well. We're going to look at the fact, as I mentioned earlier, that the Snow C.A.T. will have APC capabilities, and that's Armor Personal Carriage, in case you're wondering what APC stands for. I think one of the neatest features is it will have LED capable lights, which now, lights is not new for HasLabs, but the fact it's LED is. We'll kind of dive into that and, you know, the plus side when I talk about things I like about this particular HasLab. It's going to come with 3 tiers. We're talking a Arctic version of Lady J, a battle station, which I want to keep calling a bunker for some odd reason, and a Arctic version of Flint. So there we go, guys. One thing we're not getting this time, I guess Hasbro is paying attention, is no patches. That's just terrible news to hear. Some other features this thing has is we have rubber treads, kind of looks like the HisTank here, that will move. Now, unlike the HisTank right here, the tread will articulate, so essentially it will go up and down, really adding to potential posing abilities, photography abilities. Once again, we'll kind of dive right into that as well. So guys, we talked about some of the basic features the Snow C.A.T. is going to have. I mentioned the tiers. I did forget to mention, obviously it does come with Frostbite, that character as well. So let's actually dive into some of the likes that I have for this upcoming Snow C.A.T. and then we'll talk about some of the things I don't like. And I would love for your input in the comment sections below, guys. Do you agree with me? What do you like? What don't you not like? So make sure you comment below in the section as we're doing this video, guys. So one of the things I like is clearly the Snow C.A.T's going to have moving treads, just like this HisTank right here. So not only does it have articulated treads, that is rubber, it does have the ability to articulate up and down, so you can actually put it like it's climbing up a mountain. The photography is going to be really cool. I can't wait to see what people do with this. Not so much me. My photography is always terrible, but I do try my best. And what I also really like is the Sky Torpedo missiles. They actually modernize it. So once again, the idea behind Classified Series, giving like a modern take on G.I. Joe, right? So while I do think it has this like really cool vintage cool look, as you see here, as you could see here on what would be sort of a close resemblance to the vintage Snow C.A.T, the Sky Torpedo snow missiles right here on the side are a really, really cool look, but I really love how the Hasbro team put that in an enclosed box. It kind of adds to the more modern look of what a Snow C.A.T would be in today's terms, or today's times, I should say. And I like the fact that it's in a box. The box can open and still give you that very much vintage look you would have with the Snow C.A.T. Which once again is what Gridiron Studios here did with their piece. And this is their take, putting their missile up over here instead of back there. Once again, guys, really, really cool features with the Snow C.A.T. You know, we talked about the lights, we talked about the Sky Torpedo, the moving treads. By the way, the other thing I want to talk about, the fact how big it is. It will be definitely bigger than this, because it is bigger than the HISS tank. Now, the HISS tank really is supposed to be sort of smaller, mobile tank, essentially. So this being an APC / two-seater. Keep in mind, guys, the HISS tank is a single-seater. So this boy is going to be big. And I will be the first to admit, when I first heard about the rumors that the Snow C.A.T was going to be a HasLab, I really was thinking about kind of the classic vintage toy. And I was like, well, it's really not that big. And then people very quickly pointed out that, well, the vintage Snow C.A.T is a tad bigger than the vintage HISS tank. And now they're making it a two-seater, which is realistic with APC capabilities. I think that's really, really appropriate. Let's talk about the APC side of this toy. As you can see here, guys, this is Gridiron Studios' take on the APC. This actually is a Stinger, if you can't tell. Absolutely love it. They went ahead and added a piece to it to make it a 6x6 and give it the APC carrier. Now, my particular missile option I selected for this kind of defeats a lot of the APC purposes, but you don't have to go all out like I did with this. Now, one of the things I will say, we'll dive into this to the dislike section, is you do have to remove the missile system to make it APC capable. But I really think it's cool that the Hasbro team is trying to figure out how many figures can you fit inside of this, because that's really what people are interested in. We're trying to make a world where we're trying to tell a story, take pictures, and we're trying to have everything interact with one another. So I do think the APC take on this is a phenomenal decision from Hasbro. Alright, guys, I saved what I think to be the coolest thing with this HasLab, and maybe not everybody's going to agree. Let me know in the comment section below, but I love the fact that we're going to these LED lights. The interior on this is looking fantastic. Now, each HasLab from to date has its own lighting features, has its own interior, and it looks phenomenal. But the reason why I like we're going to LEDs, it gives it that modern look. Remember, once again, guys, not to beat a dead horse, but the G.I. Joe Classified is a modern take on G.I. Joe, and most of us, you're having a newer vehicle, the odds are LEDs are what's lighting up the road for you right now in your modern day car. So the fact that we're switching over to an LED setup gives the Snow C.A.T even a more modern day look to, and I think that is phenomenal, guys. So once again, we talked about a lot of things that I liked about it. I want to know if you agree with additional features that you might like. Comment below. But let's talk about some of the dislikes, and there's a few of them. There's a few complaints I have. All right, guys, so once again, let's talk about dislike. Now, these two vehicles are actually perfect example of one of the areas where I think Hasbro messed up, and we're going to kind of dive into it. So the treads are awesome. They are rubber, they articulate, they move. We discussed that a lot, like the HISS tank. Now, what you're seeing here with these two vehicles, though, is they have covers. Both the HISS tank has this cover, which is part of the HISS tank's, one of the tiers that you can unlock with your first HISS tank, was all the additional modern day accessories you can add to give it that modern day look. Even Gridiron Studios has a cover here in white to kind of go with all the white you have, and I just love it. And I think all that gray, and we'll talk about the gray for a second, both the gray in the treads, the track setup, the track wheel setup, as well as the gray front wheels, just doesn't give it the right look. As we kind of discussed, the vintage toy has white front wheels and black track wheels in the back. So they wanted to go all gray. I get that. It's not my biggest complaint, but I think it needed a cover. I think that should have been a tier unlock. We'll kind of discuss that in a second. But I think a cover option would have been freaking perfect. Maybe if Gridiron Studios is paying attention, maybe they could do their own take on that. I think that would be fantastic. Once again, guys, the tiers are fantastic. I don't think I touched base on that quite enough when we discussed what I like, but you have the 2 additional figures. You have the battle station, I want to keep calling it a bunker, and it is fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of value there. This thing has a lot of value. We'll kind of discuss that at the end on our wrap-up. But once again, I think the covers and giving it I think they should have gave it a little bit more modern day accessories. I think that was the formula that really took the HISS tank to the next step, where people even probably wanted to order multiple HISS tanks, so you could do multiple setups for it. You can give it a modern setup, you can give it the vintage look, you can use the side missiles, no side missiles, you can use the tread covers, not use the tread covers. You know, just those were the options I think it needed. And if you're going to stick to not doing that, the wheels just being all gray don't add a good look. If you're looking at Gridiron Studios with their wheels, it has good contrast. All I see is this gray everywhere. Like, make the lug nuts or the B-locks or whatever they're supposed to be, make them black, make it stand out, give some contrast. I really think it takes away. I know these are like toys, but they're toys for adult collectors, and I think the Hasbro team does such a great job, and there's always some sort of feature in every single HasLab that surprises me, but I'm surprised in a good way, but I'm surprised in a bad way that sometimes in certain areas I really feel they drop the ball, and I think these just gray plain wheels really brings down the Snow C.A.T just a little bit. I think even if they added, whether it was track covers or some contrast in the wheels, really brings it where it should be, especially at these price points that we're kind of spending money on. You know, it's $300 plus price point, which is a lot of value. We'll discuss that, but at that price point, I want to see a little bit more than what we're getting. I definitely am kind of frustrated with just the gray wheels. Tell me if you agree with that or not, but that's one of the things I just don't care for. Now, one of the things that I'm going to kind of bring up, and I'm going to just mention it because it's just how I feel, but it's almost like I really can't complain too much because I don't know why I feel the way I feel about it, but something about the front end just doesn't do it for me personally. It's not too bad. I just think, once again, going back to how they did the HISS tank, giving it like additional features, I think something like if they did a tier, or not, honestly, I would have got rid of the, I don't know how you guys are going to feel about this, you might be like, no, you're an idiot. But if they got rid of the battle station just for this particular tier, where they did accessories to even modernize it even more, I would have loved to see the front end have like some sort of bumper guard that you could add on as an option to really give it that modern day look. I mean, if you look here with the G.I. Joe Classified, not G.I. Joe Classified, the Gridiron Studios, a lot of the hop-ups they've been doing really modernize it. When I look at these conversions that I've done to my Stingers and my Vamps, just what I've done is I really modernize it. Now, this is an APC, so it really takes away, but you can have just a Stinger, what they call Recon, that I have as well, which really gives it this modern day look. And these bumper guards they give it, once again, gives it that next step, and I really think that was a missed opportunity. Now listen, at least we're not getting the stupid patches, and this is an awesome setup, and it's a nod to some of the vintage. This was a vintage setup you could have got back in the day, this battle station. Once again, I want to keep saying bunker for some odd reason. I know it's incorrect. But I think it is a great add-on, but I would have liked them to just literally, I think they should just copy the HISS formula, right? Which they almost did. They gave us some figures, but now they gave us a battle station instead of just all these add-ons. But that's just my opinion. Let me know if you agree below. One of the things I want to talk about, and I really won't, this is just more of a mention because it's something I thought about, but I had some friends bring it to my attention. I was like, all right, that makes sense. And they kind of talked about it too. And so I was really hoping for some add-ons, some of the tiers be more in Arctic gear. Now, granted, the Arctic gear they put Flint and Lady J in are technically accurate from the TV show, and I just forgot about that. But I was really hoping for some really Arctic gear to go with this. You know, some people in some white gear. Now, the plus side is, if they're smart, they will duplicate what they did with the HISS tank once again. And as you recall, they had the fire team, and that was a package for 3 figures that went with the HISS tank. And I really think they have an opportunity here to do something similar. Give us some figures that are just going to be strictly Arctic uniform. When I say Arctic, like just white. I really think that's going to look really, really awesome, and I hope they do that. So once again, I'm not going to really make that as a dislike because it is TV accurate. But I just wanted to mention something, a thought that went through my head. I want to know if you guys agree or disagree with that. So last but not least, with my list of things I kind of want to talk about as far as dislikes, is I briefly mentioned it. I think the fact that it has APC capabilities and the fact that the missile system sits in as well as it does is awesome, but I would have loved for them to try to figure out from an engineering perspective how to keep the missile system in there while you're carrying troops around in the inside. I think they could have done it. And I hold them to that standard because they really surprised me. A lot of things they do, I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. You know, whether this thing articulates up, whether the Rattler folds its wings up. When they did that, I was like, I didn't even think we'd do something like that. And it just made all the sense in the world, and they were able to engineer it. So I feel like holding them to the standards that they do, it would have been cool if that missile system didn't have to be removed to actually carry troops. Now, I guess you could put the missile system down and treat it like it's like a land-to-air missile system, or they could have maybe added something to that to give you that sort of an option. But very, very, very kind of minor complaint. I think my biggest complaints, once again, is just giving it some options to continue modernize it. And the gray wheels are probably my biggest. I want to know what you guys think about these gray wheels. Am I being too much of a stickler, or do you agree with me? Make sure you comment below. Alright guys, let's talk about price, and then let's talk about prediction and wrap up this video. So guys, the HIS tank comes in at $299, the first classified HasLab, very successful, and each HasLab has been successful since. This right here is Gridiron Studios Arctic Hound with their add-on feature. The Arctic Hound itself is about $200. This add-on right here with the tracks is right around $170, I want to say. So you're close to $400. It would be more money for this versus the HasLab coming out. Now listen, this is a small company. We can dive into that in another video. Everything's 3D printed. Kind of apples and oranges in many ways, but really not, because at the end of the day, you know, this is an option for you right here. So I know there's going to be a few people out there that might opt for this versus the HasLab that's going to get released, because these are ready to go. They just released their 8x8, which is actually $400 all in, and it really will be probably bigger. I have to look at the dimensions, but I want to say their 8x8, the 8x8 they've released, which is 100% all Gridiron Studios, just like this item is you can go in for $400, and that will carry 10 plus G.I. Joe figures, and you can get it in the green, you can get it in the black. It'd be like this Cobra, basically, here, this HIS tank. I think they're doing desert, and I don't know if they're going to do the Arctic or not. We'll have to wait and see. But there are options out there. That's $400. This is almost $400. This is $300. So at $324, guys, there's a lot of value there. I can't complain. It's going to be bigger than this bad boy right here. You're going to get, it comes with one figure. You're going to unlock, it's going to unlock the other two figures as well as the battle station. The battle station itself, guys, what would that retail at? I mean, usually they're giving us a figure. I would think the battle station would retail well above that. It probably would come with a figure to begin with. But I would say that retails over 25 bucks. I'm sure something like that would be 75. So I want to say 75 with a figure, right? So I want to say that battle station is probably a good $50 retail option that they're giving you. So this has got to be one of the most valuable HasLabs to date, which is saying a lot, because I think they're offering us a lot of money. I think they're offering a lot for the money. Now, there's a lot of people disagree, and we can kind of dive into that. HasLabs in general, a lot of people don't like the idea that Hasbro is collecting money to go ahead and produce something a year down the road. It doesn't bother me one bit. I actually like the what I call song and dance that you would have with a HasLab, the anticipation and all that. Sometimes they're losing their touch a little bit. So, you know, for $324, guys, in today's world, there are a lot of options. We'll talk about that, but I think the value is there. Comment below. Do you agree? Do you think it should be more? I mean, they probably could charge a little. They probably could charge $350, and I think, to be honest with you, the same amount of people would back it. I know I'd back it at $324 versus $350. Especially with the extra goodies, I think they could have warranted that, but they still kept it at $324. In today's climate, with, you know, tariffs and other things just increasing in price, I really think the value is there. All right, guys, let's talk about prediction. I do think this is going to easily surpass all its tiers and unlock all its tiers. I don't think that's going to be an issue whatsoever. That's been one of the awesome things about collecting G.I. Joe, is when a HasLab comes, you're not really nervous about it unlocking all its tiers. Now, I do think this might be the least popular HasLab to date. Now, why do I say that? I think there's a few reasons, but I think the biggest reason is now that we're in 2025, the options are just out there. You've already, if you're collecting every current HasLab, this will be your fourth 12 scale vehicle. So space is an issue. Competition's an issue. Now, Gridiron Studio makes a premium product with a premium price. I have on pre-order Ramen Toys tanks, and their tanks is module. You can get a tank. You can basically get their version of the Wolverine, which they're also calling the Phoenix. They have the bridge layer option as well. So right then and there, you can order basically 3 tanks through them. We have Gridiron Studios. We have, who's the other people I can't seem to think about? Fan Hobbies has, all those different options as well. So there's so many options out there that people are sort of been jumping on the demand. The demand is there, so these third-party companies are jumping in because really Hasbro is kind of dropping the ball in certain ways, especially when they're kind of restricting a lot of vehicles to HasLabs, with HasLabs once a year. So I mean, think about it. If we ever get, let's throw a crazy number out there. Say we get 10 HasLabs. It's gonna be 10 years. That's a long time for 10 vehicles. And at that point, like, where are we putting them? I don't have answers for that. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons you're going to see. Well, two of the biggest reasons you're going to see this maybe not be quite the most successful HasLab for G.I. Joe Classified. A, competition. B, just the fact that we're running out of space. I mean, if you most likely, if you're going to back this, you back the other ones. The other thing is there's a few people that don't care for the Arctic theme. I mean, G.I. Joe for most people's collection is green, so I am kind of surprised they didn't go with the Mobat. I was rooting for the Mauler personally because I think it's such an iconic tank. I absolutely love it. But that would have been the same issue with the Snow C.A.T. This is a desert theme where most G.I. Joe has been green. So the Mobat could have been a phenomenal option, although I would have rather much wanted the Mauler personally. So that might be another reason. There might be some people going, I don't need an Arctic setup now. Listen, if you've been wanting to collect the G.I. Joe Classified, you've been staying away, you could probably just do an Arctic themed G.I. Joe and you won't be too much into the woods with it. But I think those are sort of the biggest reasons. So I think the Snow C.A.T. is iconic, but maybe not quite everyone's most favorite vehicle, where something like the Hiss, I mean, this is probably the most, arguably this and the Rattler are probably the most iconic Cobra vehicles. Joe vehicles, there's quite a bit out there. So that's my opinion on it, guys. I want to thank everyone for staying this long in the video. If you made it this far, guys, you need to hit that subscribe button. I don't want to ask anymore, because if you made it to the end of my video, I got more videos like this, guys. I appreciate the support. I want you to comment below. I want to know everybody's thoughts on it. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you like? What do you dislike? Did you back it? Are you not backing it? Are you opting for a different third-party option instead? Comment below, guys. I interact with much people as I can. I think it's a lot of fun, and I want to thank everyone. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. I will see you guys in my next video. Have a fantastic day. Take it easy. I'm out. Peace.
You not to back their silly HasLab, or reach the unlocked tiers prior to the campaign's end, before midnight on August 14th. You simpletons aren't going to listen to me, are you? You just love your highly trained Special Mission Force. Destro, slap some white paint on those Hiss tanks and stickers. We're gonna have to dominate some weather.